vision of land and a landscape for Huck to feel right now. In preparation for this service, as we think about sheep and shepherds, it is glaringly obvious to me that I know next to nothing about shepherding, very little about earth care and keeping with my small little backyard and some raised garden beds, but I have never shepherded an actual sheep. Two exceptions, and perhaps more among you, I don't know, Diane and others, maybe you have also tendered and stewarded and shepherded actual sheep, those beloved four-hooved, are they ungulates? No, maybe they are. They're like cows, I think they are. Christine will chime in and let me know. But these beautiful animals, Christine and Guy have shepherded them, and they know a little bit about shepherding. So I've asked Guy to share a word about his experience. And so he has given me his words written, so we'll not have him on video at the moment. He would prefer us to just read it here for us. So listen now for this reflection from Guy Herman from the landscape of Vermont among us as a worshiper today. He writes, Rob has asked me to say a word about sheep. Not religious and only an anecdotal reader of the Bible, I can only relate my experiences of shepherding and sheep as I have come to learn just a few. There are many times in the minus 25 degrees of Vermont winters when chores seem most unpleasant. But like being alone in nature on the side of the mountain where Christine and I live, watching the eclipse, there's a curious and near profound satisfaction sometimes in having completed the chores, staying warm, and if weather permits, watching these rams. Sometimes standing still for hours, often rambunctious, ramming into and butting each other with sufficient power to take down any person among us, as they have so taken me. Clearly, but for feeding, they don't understand us humans. They have little interest in anything we may do or say, are neither affectionate nor aggressive, but each as magnificent and beautiful as nature becomes, if our eyes and hearts are open and mindful. There has never been an easy clarity for me in understanding these lessons, almost impossible to articulate about why having such animals, why undertaking such a seemingly thankless chore still feels so right and sensible and an element of the way things were, or said better, ought to be. As Christine says, our sheep, Huck and Finn, are funny, or more properly, we are funny with our sheep. They are more pets than farm critters, but so wild and self-directed they are skittish, do not allow themselves to be patted, will listen only to a whistle signifying grain and hay, but otherwise live a quite mysterious and nearly unfathomable life to us humans. I have thought in a way they are like our lives, so much given, hardship and joy, simple and guileless. It is all often more than our often too educated selves can really understand. Putting one down this weekend, our beloved Huck, suffering from an unknown nervous system disease. Listening to Christine, I got to share a glimmer of understanding of how it is, in a way, the way we are to shepherd all of life, all of our kith and kin, known or not, black or white, friends or foe, and briefly, the all of it comes into focus in a moment of clarity. Caring for a dying, wild animal companion seems an unfathomable reach for human comprehension, but too is it now, in our time, almost unfathomable how we may take care of our nation or not, of the millions of Gazans dying, children without food or shelter, our families here in these United States and even this republic, the parent, father, and mother of all the freedoms and luxuries of food and shelter many of us enjoy. One of the 10,000 lessons of sheep and shepherding, I believe, is to accept and regard all as we want to be ourselves, despite differences in belief, dress, color, culture, caring for even what we don't understand, and for which we may see nothing evident in return in the infinite panoply of this rich planet of ours, is really, in the end, the only way to care for ourselves. I have been an okay shepherd, but the lesson of Huck is more in the words of John, as I feel myself related to this world and its problems, a confession, but for which there are solutions. From John chapter 10, also beginning at verse 11, I am not the good shepherd who lays down his life. The good shepherd lays down their life for the sheep. With our republic on fire, I feel myself more like a hired hand who is not the shepherd and does not own the sheep, and seeing the wolf coming, leaves the sheep and runs away, and the wolf snatches them and scatters them. The hired hand runs away because a hired hand does not care for the sheep. I am an okay shepherd, but these times require all of us to be good shepherds. I know my own, and my own know me. That is, I would lay down my life for my children. But I have other sheep that do not belong to this fold. I must bring them also, and they would listen to my voice if I speak, work, take the time to give with no expectation of return, but for knowing we all need the gifts of enough, community, and equality. This is not a time for vacation or complacency. We cannot be like hired hands if we are to keep the wolf from the door. Thank you, Guy. Thank you, Huck. Rest in power and peace, beloved four-footed one. And indeed, thank you, Christine, for being with us in the midst of this loss, for bringing us some images that maybe many of us don't know ourselves. I would suggest that we're accustomed to hearing on Sheep Sunday the idea of what we hear from Ezekiel, God as shepherd, or what we hear from John, Jesus, I am the good shepherd. But Guy, you've given us an invitation for us to see ourselves as shepherds and challenging us to see ourselves as good ones. That wolf stands at the door, a wolf of a crumbling republic, a wolf of climate chaos, a wolf of self-doubt. Whatever that analogy is for us, there is much at stake and much for us to do. Every Sunday we are aware of that, especially on this Earth Care Sunday. And I just want to add to our reflection here that the context of this Good Shepherd text from John, like so many of the gospel teachings of Jesus, always come after an action, an interaction of Jesus, not just from his head, but from his hands. In this case, chapter 9 of John, the healing of the man born blind. We remember it's a very earthy text. Jesus meets the earth as he topples the heresies that disability come from sin, which was a known expectation at the time. Blindness surely was a form of sin from a parent or the person themselves. Jesus quickly avows that from his disciples' theology, says no, and then heals the man born blind. And then you see the story of the man born blind come and tell his story. And the religious leaders and the powers that be pushed up against that and said, this can't be. This must have been a sinner. How can he see again? And again, Jesus comes back to that one who has once been born and who once could not see but now can. And he reintroduces him back into community. The true and most powerful part of this story for me is that this person who was once then found vision was then excluded from community, and Jesus brought him back into community. This idea, this invitation of bringing back not just those in our own fold, but those in all the folds of God may be our invitation. And I pray that we would ponder Guy's important reflection for us as we move forward, not only into this service, but into Earth Week and beyond. We, the challenge to be good shepherds all. Amen.